Hello everyone, my name is Carol and I'm excited about sharing this video with you because I think it's a great project and because I love crafting and I love sewing. I came across a magazine article about making fidget quilts that caught my attention. And if you're not familiar with what a fidget quilt is, fidget quilts are comfort quilts type blankets for individuals suffering with Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, ADHD, head trauma, or people recovering from strokes. The quilts are designed to stimulate and soothe the mind and keep hands busy and occupied. They're small enough to fit on someone's lap. Just think oversized placemat. I'm going to give you a list of items that you can put on the quilt or that I plan to put on the quilt, but you can come up with your own ideas. I mean, the ideas are just endless. You can have fun with it. So let's get started with the supplies that I'm going to use. First, you're going to choose the inside cover of your quilt. I've chosen a light shade of blue here. Then you're going to choose the back. I've chosen a darker shade of blue with just a little designs in it. The third layer of your quilt is going to be the batting. So you have 3 layers to your quilt. The batting, the front side, and the back side. The other items that I've chosen to place on the quilt are, I have some ribbon, different varieties of ribbons. They're beautiful. I have 2 kinds of seam binding here. I have multicolored cording. Ponytail holders, they're kind of stretchy. Alphabet beads, and of course the shoestring. Belt material or cording for the belt. And of course the belt buckles. I have a variety of beautiful variety of beautiful buttons. Here is just a strip of elastic, but it does have bling on it. You can see the glitter. I've chosen this material, sort of a plaid type material. Here I have pencil grippers that I've put on a piece of cording. They're very colorful, as you can see, and they're squishy with a lot of texture, which is good for a fidget quilt. A familiar item, a comb with a little puff ball on the end there. I have a key that I've already attached to a metal ring, the squishy key holder, and I've used a piece of seam binding to attach it, to hold it together. Another familiar item, a toothbrush, a zipper, and a pocket. This is it's a pre-cut piece of fabric that you can buy from the craft store. And as you can see, I've already formed a pocket here just by simply turning it in the edges and sewing around the edges of the pocket. A variety of fabric strips, different colors. Beautiful, colorful fabric strips. So now let's put this quilt together. So let's continue. Before you sew anything onto the blanket, I would place all the items on the blanket in a pleasing manner so that you get an idea of what the blanket is going to look like when it's done. So what I started with was I used the front side and a batting, not the back, but just the front side and a batting. It's the second layer of the blanket, and I stitched around the complete perimeter of the batting and the front side. Then I laid that out because all of these items are going to be placed on before you actually add the back side. So after I completed the stitching of the batting and the front side, I laid my items out one at a time. I started with the fabric strips, and I layered them, stitched it on, and I just simply added some stretchy ponytail holders. The pocket was sewn on. You can actually place your hand inside of the pocket. The key can go inside or outside. You can see that the key has been sewn on with just a piece of seam binding and a stretchy key holder here. The zipper actually zips up and down. And again, we have our familiar items that kind of like it'll jog the memory. A simple comb and a toothbrush. I took the seam bindings and created loops and sewed it onto this piece of fabric. Then I laced the cording, colorful cording throughout, and got that shoestring effect, so to speak. And you can actually play with this or just leave it open, tie it. The pencil grippers, I just simply added 2 pieces of cording and just use a couple of pieces of ribbon to sew it on. These pencil holders are great because they're colorful and they have a lot of texture. The alphabet beads, I just simply added to the piece of stretchy elastic with the glitter, and I added the word Sunday. I hope you can see that. Over here, I place buttons in a really pleasing manner. They're really colorful, they're beautiful. The ribbons here, just kind of like willy-nilly, just sew them on. You can really have a lot of fun with that. And the belt, actually, you can open the belt buckle, it closes. So once all of the items have been sewn on, and again, these items can be sewn on by machine or they can be sewn on by hand. I'll show you in a minute a blanket that I created, and I pretty much did it 90% by hand. So after I placed all the items on, everything was sewn on securely because we want to make sure that everything is sewn on where they won't come off and injure or hurt someone. So after they were all sewn on, then I took the back of the quilt, I turned in the edges about 1/4 of an inch, took my iron and I ironed it down all the way around. Then I placed the cover or the front side of my blanket onto the back side, fold it over. You can see it, I folded it over about 1.5 inches, and I simply stitched around the complete perimeter of the blanket. I made my corners in a sort of a envelope method here. So This blanket will keep, you know, hands busy and minds active, and it will improve the quality of life for somebody. This blanket I want to show you to give you an idea that you don't have to worry about not having a sewing machine if you don't have one, because this particular blanket I sewed everything on here by hand except for the back of the blanket. I used the same method that I used on this one and sewed it on by machine, but you can see what you can do with just a needle and thread and I would say a thimble, because when you're using or sewing by hand, you will need a thimble. So I want to show you the items or some of the notions that I use, that you will need to complete the project. Just your simple sewing shears. Of course, you'll need straight pins, and in place of straight pins, you can just use these little miniature clothespins. You'll need your basic sewing needles. And as I said, if you're going to sew or stitch anything on by hand, you will need your thimbles. This is a seam ripper. In case you make a mistake, you know, you use it to rip out your mistake or the seam and redo the seam. This is a thread cutter, a neat little item. And of course, you're going to need your variety of different threads, because you have different colors throughout your quilt, so you'll need different colors of thread. And of course, you're going to need a ruler and your sewing machine. Well, like I said, don't be intimidated if you do not have a sewing machine, because this project can be accomplished by hand. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And again, this is the finished product. I hope that you will try this quilt and have fun with it. And thank you for watching.